some updates, don't you guys, since last update? It would have been me moving the microphone to max one, which would probably kill everyone's ears. Which, while funny, would not have been helpful. While funny, would not have been helpful. Audio, so give us a moment. Give us a moment. Give us a moment. You also might be getting an echo, but that's fine. Again, that will go away once I get this set up. I think that's at a pretty good volume, but if anybody in chat needs me to change it, then do let me know. Say, try not to make too much noise with that water bottle because it is right next to the microphone. Close a bunch of windows. Don't need that. Setup on my end that you guys won't see, but usually my windows don't look like this. But now I can also see your window at the same time, so if like if it on your end randomly crashes, then I'll know. It shouldn't do that, but we should be good to go. Alright. So, welcome everybody to Pokemon HeartGold and SoulSilver, the remake for Gen 2, which is originally, the original Silver was actually the first video game that I played, period. So to say this one has some nostalgia for me would be the understatement of the century. This is a big one, and a lot of people were super excited when this remake came out. Not that long ago, just like 14 years ago in 2010. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. If you want to view the info, feel free. It walks you through it decently well, but of course there are touchscreen stuff. You don't really need the stylus for anything, though. Like, it says, like, hey, you can touch the bottom screen to, like, access your backpack. It's like, you can also just hit X, and that works fine, too. The only real downside we'll have here is not being able to hear the audio on our end for the game, but that's fine. I was going to say, if you really want to hear the game audio, I can give you one of my earbuds and you can put the game audio in so you can hear mine, which will be a little bit weird, but... I did do a tiny bit of practice on this one, so I have an idea for... Yes, how dare... You know, the last time I played this was when the game was new, so... We would have absolutely gotten lost otherwise. It's the hat. She looks like a humanoid version of like a character from Arthur. But yes, as is the case with our HeartGold SoulSilver sort of versus, the versus part will come up after we are done with Gen 4. But we did have the role reversal from last time. If you watched FireRed and LeafGreen, you'll know that last time the person that picks which of the two versions they play gets to pick their starter first. So I picked FireRed for my choice and got to pick my starter second. So this time, the choice was for Icarus of which one to play. So she is playing through SoulSilver and I am playing through HeartGold. which means that I will be getting first pick for which of the starters that I want this time around, and she will be getting to choose between one of the two remaining ones.
Very straightforward.
Yeah, I do like that they give you a fair bit to work with here. I'm going to go to the options and immediately turn everything the way that I want it, namely with the text speed turned up. Bonk. So yeah, expect to see, as you just saw with Meryl here, expect to see a lot of Pokemon from Gen 1 and Gen 3 as well as Gen 2. Gen 2 actually has a very small Pokedex. It's only got about 100, as opposed to the first game that had about 150. So there are a fair few issues when coming to figure out exactly how I wanted to do this project and what was going to change. First, as they mentioned just there too, whatever Pokemon that you have out in the lead, provided that it's not fainted, will be able to walk around with you freely on the overworld. Which is actually helpful because A, it brings up their happiness if you need happiness evolutions, and B, they can also potentially get items for you if you talk to them every now and then. Alright, picking my starter, it is needless to say, absolutely zero surprise that the Pokemon that I had for my first Pokemon ever is the same one that I'm choosing here, so I will be choosing Cyndaquil. I'll be giving it a nickname a little bit later on, but for now I'm not going to do that. Once we get to a point of a break, I'll add that sprite to your list of Pokemon as well. Though we will only be keeping the list for Pokemon that we are going to ultimately use for the actual versus part. If you watched the first season, FireRed and LeafGreen, the way we did it is because there are, unfortunately, required HMs to use throughout the game. Not every Pokemon you put on your team is actually one that you use for combat. Namely Zigzagoon from Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald that was able to do a lot, but in terms of battle, I don't think hardly anybody used it. So as a result, we are essentially calling 3 Pokemon throughout the project that we'll be using for our final team, and 3 of them will be left as a mystery. So that way we get an idea of, you can still see what to expect on our teams, but also there will be a little bit of surprise, and that we won't just be outright planning to counterpick between each other's Pokemon and just saying, oh, well, they've got like 4 water types, I'll just bring electricity, grass, and everything else that water is weak to. Pokegear. Get my chat window back up here. There we go. Good old illusion of choice. They're like, hey, do you know how to use the phone in game? And regardless of whether you say yes or no, they're still going to tell you anyway. Also, before you ask, yes, thankfully you do get the running shoes pretty quickly in this game, so if the normal speed is a little bit too slow, don't worry, that gets fixed pretty soon. It's pretty much like you run this errand, come back, and they give you the shoes. So it's not too bad. Plus, there is an upside to actually not running in this game, and that's if you run in the grass, it will actually increase the chances that you'll get an encounter. So there actually are times where it's beneficial to not do that. Repels are still a thing, of course. Oh, I got a female Cyndaquil. That's kind of cool. It's only a 1 in 8 chance, I think. Maybe 1 in 4, either way. So yeah, when deciding what to do for how we were going to have this particular playthrough work, I went back and forth on trying to figure out how to do the rules and slightly varying them from the first game, because in the first game, we had things like, in my particular case, because I was the person that was more practiced and had already played the game before, and we had set more rules in place for me in particular of, when playing Gen 1, you can only pick Pokemon from Gen 1. So that's still going to be the case for me, of I'm only allowed to choose Pokemon that are from 2nd Gen, which is going to provide an interesting case because one of them is a Gen 1 Pokemon that evolves into a Gen 2 Pokemon. So initially it will technically be breaking that rule, but as long as the final form is something that is from Gen 2, then it will still qualify. Because a lot of them are like, this is where Pichu first became a thing, like the pre-evolution of Pikachu. This is where Umbreon and Espeon became a thing, even though Eevee already existed. This is where like a lot of the happiness evolutions started to come into play. So if I had avoided doing that, I would have had to pick a team of 6 out of about like 75. Like it would have been a pretty low amount to choose from to get a decently varied team. So pretty much the only restriction that both you and I have this restriction, but the only real restriction you have on your end is we're not allowed to choose anything for our final team that we chose from a previous game. So in your case, that's no Gyarados, no Blastoise, and no Jolteon. In my case, that would be no Charizard, no Jolteon, no Gengar. So it's a way to make it where we do have to use new Pokemon, but you're not as like completely and fully restricted if it's just a gen where you're just not finding anything that's clicking with you.
Where are we supposed to be going?
Did you get your Pokegear from Mom?
I did.
Yeah, then you need to go out to the left. Hey, you figured it out. Curious. I'm gonna take a look at my Pokemon and see what its nature is. Adamant nature. That's arguably pretty bad, actually. If I remember correctly, that's upping attack and lowering something else. So used to having the running shoes on my practice file, this does feel slow. It's thankfully not as bad. I think everybody mutually agrees that actually like the slowest pace, both in terms of the actual game pacing and in terms of you physically moving, is Gen 4. Like Gen 4 is mega slow. Oh no, you actually get the running shoes right here as soon as this guy's done saying like, hey, here's the Pokemon Center, here's the Pokemon Mart, and just going through all the different areas. I think Gen 3 actually did that the most quickly, because doesn't it do it like right after you get out of town and it's in between the town and your rival? And they're just like, yeah, here's the Pokemon Mart, here's a free sample of our stuff, and if you look over here, here's the Pokemon Center, and then they just let you go.
Just go ahead and get out of here.
Which actually ended up becoming more funny because in later games they would merge the Pokemon Mart and Pokemon Center into just one solid building so that they'd only have to take you to one building and being like, here's everything you should need. There we go, now I got the running shoes. Yeah. So if you were playing this on actual hardware, you could hold down on the touch screen the sprint button, because it'll pull up a thing right next to where it says check on your screen where the running shoes are, or you can just hold down the B button, which is obviously the recommended. No, you're going the right way. I did the exact same thing. If you go back down through that building and then take a left, then you'll go the right way.
It was a big building. It looked fancy. I wanted to go inside.
Yeah, they do that with a lot of the routes in this game. They'll put like a little thing in between two different routes to kind of separate them out. In earlier games, they would often do this to be like, hey, you need some specific item to get through here, and this is our way of telling you need some specific item. Which was usually something like an HM of like, hey, you need surf, so like don't bother going beyond this point because there's no reason to. BTRDIA. Oh, it's like off-color NVIDIA, my favorite. Oh, wow. You put a lot of thought in. I thought you were gonna go for like the My Neighbor Totoro thing, and I'm like, I have not seen anything by that company. I've never liked the animation style, which I know is controversial to say, but stuff like Howl's Moving Castle and stuff like that, I've just never found that interesting. It's like a weird case of acquired taste, but like most people have already acquired the taste. And I'm like, I don't like looking at it. It just does not look visually appealing to me.
I know some people like, unironically don't like cake. So I feel like that's a similar concept.
I don't like dry cake, that's for sure. There's nothing worse than a dry chocolate cake.
Well, cookies.
This isn't even well done. This is congratulations. Surely you've heard that before. That's been around for forever. That is also something to that game, is that little tree that you just saw right there. Whenever you get to Route 30, the first house that you get to, you get a little box that you can collect those in. The apricorns are something, well, not required. What they do is you can take them to somebody later in the game, and depending on what type of apricorn you give him, because there's like 8 or 9 different types, he can give you special types of Pokeballs. So like ones that increase happiness if you catch a Pokeball in it, ones that work well on heavier Pokemon, that kind of thing. So it's a way of getting the custom Pokeballs without having to win a contest or something. And they will respawn every single day. Kind of like how the berries would in Gen 3. The only difference is you don't have to water those plants, you just walk up to them every single day and they're just there. His first name is Mr. and his last name is Pokemon. Makes sense. He's too fast for the human eye.
They're so
Got him. They're brand new. I don't want your crusty old shoes that you wore in the Vietnam War. Nasty. Hey, good news, I just died. I got back-to-back critical.
Oh, damn.
So I was even doing the math, I'm like, yeah, I can survive 3 more hits, and then it's just like, yeah, critical hit, your health went down to 0.
Just kidding.
Thanks. Oh yeah, something else you can do in this game. 2 words, run indoors.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like,
That was obviously not a thing in the original Gold, Silver, Crystal, but yeah, in HeartGold, SoulSilver, yeah, you can absolutely do that. Since this came out in 2010, this would be post Gen 4. This would be post Diamond Pearl. You don't have any yet. You can't get any yet. No, not yet. I think it's after running this errand that you get the opportunities. Pretty much after running the errand, like, most of the stuff that you would have for your basic abilities of, like, catching Pokemon and things like that will open up to you. It's pretty cool.
it's a map.
did. Did you pick Ike because Icarus wouldn't fit? Like, how many character spaces were there? I actually didn't check.
Oh, it's just what's ever.
That's fair. That's like the one downside to having your name be 6 letters, like your default username, and mine being 5. Is usually like 5 is on average what they put for older games. And if you're really unlucky, sometimes it's 4, but most of the time it's 5. That's what you can use to store those. I love that synchronized door opening we just had there. That was nice. Thank God, I am not having good luck in this fight. I had a 5% chance to miss, and then I missed, and then he got a critical hit. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. For the sake of consistency, I'm gonna do it this one time. Just because it's not gonna work with my nickname. I'm actually gonna reset and get a different Cinequil. Because the name doesn't work for a female Cinequil. And if I'm already having this bad luck with it, it might be best that I trade it out anyway.
It's kind of cursed.
I'd say there's never a difference between having a male and a female Pokemon, but, like, canonically that is actively not true. There's a Pokemon in Gen 4 called Combee that evolves into Vespiquen, like a queen bee, but if you have a male Combee, it cannot evolve. So, like, a male Combee is genuinely worse than a female one.
I know there's some moves that are specifically target, like, charm and stuff.
Yeah, attract, namely. Having to fight that one girl in the Pokemon Coliseum that would just constantly spam it. She was probably actually the worst of the 4, like, big bads that you had to keep refighting. Because, like, the first guy with Earthquake Protect, like, yeah, that's obnoxious, but, like, the minute that you realize what he's doing, you just figure out who used Protect last round and then target that person. And then, like, the Thunder one, kind of a headache, but not too bad. Mayor B is just kind of a war of attrition with his Ludicolo's that keep getting health back from Brain Dish. Really now rewatching this intro with Oak, I find it a bit weird, but like, Oak's not the professor in this region, it's Elm. Like, we've already met Elm. But, like, you meet Oak super early, and he's also the one in the intro rather than Elm. Like, they must have had no confidence in Elm at all.
Did you say there was a way that we could speed up the text?
Yeah, it's under options. I would recommend not changing the battle style, by the way. Changing that battle style to set means that, like, whenever you beat a Pokemon and they're like, hey, they're about to send out that, do you want to change your Pokemon? It turns that off, so you're just, like, you have to give up a turn. It's nice for a challenge run, but, like, for a casual run, you probably don't want that on. Funny, yeah, but not helpful.
Also saving a lot of data.
Yeah, there actually is a difference between saving the data and saving a lot of data. It usually refers to if you've interacted with the PC at all. So oddly enough, interacting with the PC for like 6 seconds changes it from data to a lot of data, but like beating multiple gyms without doing that does not. Oh yeah, expect to get a lot of phone calls during the adventure, most of them which thankfully you can just ignore. Most of the time, the professor won't call you unless it's a story beat, so if he calls you, it probably actually is important, and the game does force you to answer those calls. But with most other people, occasionally when you beat somebody, they're like, hey, you seem really strong, like, do you want to exchange phone numbers? And if you do, you can go back and, like, refight them, or they might give you items. It's one of those things of, like, initially on a normal playthrough, you're probably just going to ignore them all, because there's no point in refighting really weak trainers. But in particular, the ones that give you items later on can actually give you pretty rare items, and so answering those calls and figuring out where they are is not always a bad idea. Go to the summary for yours real quick. I'm curious what nature yours is. Quiet nature. That does not fit Totodile at all. Ash had a Totodile in canon. It was, like, very hyperactive. Because I am playing on emulator, I can just state save, thankfully. So if I do manage to get a Cynical that's not male, then I can just swap it back out. For anybody wondering, we are doing pretty much the exact same style that we did for the last one. Icarus is playing on actual hardware, I'm playing on emulator, and then I'll do a second run through of the game on actual hardware, as I do have both copies. Reason for doing that is being able to show both screens at once, but it also means that because I have to do that, I'll get like different natures and stuff for my team, which is why we said that like if you wanted to like breed for proper IVs and EVs and all that, then that's totally fine to do, because there's no way I can match 1-to-1 in 2 different files when I'm playing through. Like, it would take an insane amount of resets to do that. One with a careful nature. I'm actually going to load that again, because again, that doesn't really fit my specific cynical I'm thinking of. I'm not going to go for the optimal nature or anything, but I do want it to at least fit the character I have. Yeah, that's your rival in this game.
That's rival.
They'll change that later on. They'll give you an opportunity to name it whatever you want. Canonically, his name is Silver. Yeah. Nice. The shade is real.
Like, it's so terrible.
But that's pretty good, though. I don't think that could ever happen in the original, so that might have been something that they actually updated for that game. Because, like, when the original game came out, that wasn't like a constant joke slash thing people were actually believing seriously at the time. Maybe he's like Dupless from Paper Mario. Maybe that's the source of his power. If you know his name, that he just can't do anything. So as you've already clearly seen, there's like a mix of Gen 1 and 2, even in like the very early stages of the game. Because Rattata's from Gen 1, but Hoothoot is a Gen 2 Pokemon. And you'll probably recognize like a fair few of these just from Pokemon Coliseum, because Coliseum has a fair few Gen 2 Pokemon. You gonna catch one for your team?
Eventually.
I thought about using one, but like as I was playing through the game, the need for the HM slaves kind of overwrote having too many of like a combat team, unfortunately. If I remember correctly from my practice file, there is 8 HMs in total, so if you can manage to find 2 Pokemon that can use those 8 HMs between the two of them, then you would only need 2 HM slaves. I managed to get it down to, I think, 3. I like how he immediately is like, yeah, it's you. It's clearly you. Okay. I did. I was gonna say, you're in no rush, because since I'm resetting to get like a proper Cynical, I'm very far behind right now. His last name is Mouse. Middle initial A. It's because I've read enough fan fiction to know. Or Mr. Steel. Donut Steel. I think that one only came about because of like the original thing was like original character, comma, do not steal. But then people were like, oh, that's the character's name, do not steal. And so they changed it to Donut Steel. I feel like it fits.
Donuts.
Plus, they obviously did it on purpose. Like, you're not, theoretically, if you understand how capitalization works, you're not capitalizing every single word in that sentence. But then again, Xbox One's Microsoft marketing team thought all in one, period, Xbox One, period, was 2 complete sentences, so... Lo and behold, someone going, wait, it's not? think this is actually one thing that they have not done in any of the Pokemon games up to and including, at least at the time of doing this, Scarlet and Violet, of like, when you nickname your Pokemon when you first get them, they don't tell you what the nature is on that screen. I think you actually have to like wait for the rest of the scene to play out and then go and check. I don't even want an optimal nature, I just want one that fits the character. I know how people who reset for shinies feel. Nah, I think you'll still be okay. I was catching level 2s and 3s at level 10 with no issue with Cyndaquil, so you're probably fine.
Whenever I was playing my first playthrough, Emerald back in the no, Sapphire.
Yes.
I leveled up my Trico too quick.
Yeah, because you had him at like 14 or 15 and could not catch anything. Yeah, couldn't catch anything. I guess that could fit. I don't want to reset multiple times more than I already have, so Moss will have to do. It's technically a good nature for Cyndaquil, I guess. At least I'm pretty sure it is. I think my favorite version of that one is the one, like, genuinely in the anime, and it's pretty early on in the anime. They do a Who's That Pokemon, and it's a Pokemon that, like, if you're only watching the anime, you have not encountered yet. Like, nobody in the anime has seen it yet. So there's no way for the audience to know what Pokemon it is. It's like, why would you design it like that? They show, like, several different Pokemon in the first episode, and then it gets to, like, episode 4, and they can still pull from just that first episode. Then they show something that doesn't show for like another 6 episodes. It's like, okay, I guess this is the let's just make the audience feel dumb today episode. One of the upsides for fighting the Hoots is very often they'll waste their turn doing that. If I remember correctly, and I'm probably wrong because I don't ever use it, Foresight is one of those moves that, like, if you're using a normal type against a ghost type, normally it just does not work, and that allows you to be able to do that, but, like, obviously Totodile's not a ghost. true. If there's anything else you want to catch, now would be a optimal time to do it.
I'm trying to. I can't find them.
Oh, looking for a Tata.
Yeah.
So this is another thing, and this actually was in the original game as well, but it's obviously a lot more easily seen here than it was in the original game. And that's that the day-night cycles actually affect what Pokemon you find, at least in both whether you can or can't find it, and also just the percentage chance to find it. So since owls are more active at night, and we're on nighttime, that's why they're popping up more frequently. Some of them are actually like only obtainable altogether at certain times of the day, but the Tata's not. And I know that because I'm fighting one right now. I forgot that happened like all the time in FireRed. I can't believe it's been 3 years since we did that. It is, yeah. I even put that in the trailer I put out because I was like 4 screens, 3 years since the last project. 2 players, 1 adventure. So yeah, I did check. The worst part is that was 3 years since I uploaded it to YouTube, so it might have an additional like couple weeks on top of that, so it might actually be past 4 now. I don't know. I need this to get a kill. Nope. I died again. The downside with having a modest nature is it will be really good once I get Ember, because it's going to let Ember do extra damage, but my physical attacks are not going to do that much. Yes, I know. I get it. I died. I suck. Get good. Maybe give me a potion. That might help. You get one in the original game, but you don't get one here. No, I mean like right when you start. Like you find them, yeah, but usually there's like one in the PC by default. Gen 3 does that as well. I think it's 5. Oh, Mr. Non-Bald guy?
Yeah.
Why is it all the, like... Well, no, actually, is it the AIDS that are... I'm trying to remember if it's the Professor AIDS that are bald, or if it's the professor. So it might be both. I don't know, you're way ahead of me. You should be able to figure it out. Give me a chance to catch up here. I mean, there's not too many places you can go, so thankfully you'll probably find it decently quickly. Or maybe find that Rattata. That's not one. That would be a good level to catch it, though. Level 4 is like pretty high. If you can find a Rattata level 4, that would be a little bit less work to level it up. It can't be any worse than Sherwood not being able to catch a gold Poochyena, a shiny Poochyena, because it would definitely Pokemon. That was his first experience playing Gen 3. It's like, that's rough. You beat Pops on that door. You showed who's boss. Well, I did see that there was an apricorn right next to that guy's house, and the tree just left. The green ones were the ones that I predominantly use the most because those get changed into the Pokeballs that if you catch a Pokemon with it, it makes it more friendly automatically towards you. So. And thankfully, it's actually a very easy conversion rate between the apricorns and the Pokeballs. It's 1-to-1. You can only make one color at any given time, but you can give him as many of that color as you've got. So if you have like 6 and give him 6, then the next day he'll give you 6.
I need to kill this right off the bat.
see Rattata's name, it just reminds me of Fist of the North Star. That's all I can think of. I always feel bad for him too, because it fits in that category of Pokemon along with Spheal of looks really cute until it evolves, and then it gets kind of ugly. Mickey or Minnie? Mickey. Apparently they're redoing, or like remastering Epic Mickey too, if you ever played the original. I didn't either. I usually try to avoid any game that has the word epic in the title. If you talked to that kid earlier, they'd be blocking the road, and that was the guy that lost, too. It's like, wow, look who's talking, champ.
Man, that's a legend.
The desperate cry for help. He's trying his best. He's really not. Oh. I second that O for that man. Oh, for your fortune?
Yeah.
I'll say, seeing as my intellectual pursuits right now consist of getting to where I need to go without dying. Oh yeah, you can also catch these at nighttime. You can catch one of your other friends. It's a spider. You can catch a little spider. A little spinnerack away. had a Pidgey. There's a reason they say Mary had a little lamb. She don't anymore. The ironic thing is, because those Rattatas between the two trainers were of equal level, that Pidgey was probably what made the difference between that kid winning and the other one losing. And that's a little bit sad. Oh right, I forgot that's also a thing that can happen in this game too, is if you get poisoned, like how it damages you on the world map. If your Pokemon gets knocked down to 1 health, I don't remember if it's a guarantee or a chance, but there's a chance that it'll just tell you, like, your Pokemon survived the poisoning and it stopped. So it'll just get rid of that status effectively and you can just do it. Which is good, because that was going to force me to go back to town for the 3rd time. Normally I would, like, be very approving of fighting the highest level thing in the area, but the fact that I'm only fighting level 4 is actually making this kind of hard. Like, that's not a big problem at, like, levels 9, 10, whatever, but, like, when you're only 1 level higher than that, that's actually a little bit hard. Luckily, I don't plan on catching anything for my team for a little while, so... Not even that spider. Fighter's Lab. Go Nope. No more fighter.
You're too strong.
Oop, you should answer that one. So, this is a mechanic in the game where basically every fight you win, your mom will save half of your money. And you'll always have that money. You can go home and get that money out of your account. But what she will do is occasionally she'll call you and say that she bought an item using her money, but they'll be very rare items. It's not stuff that you can typically get in stores. It's like some of the rare berries that you would use to mix together either like the Pokeblocks in later gens, or they're like the rare ones that like if your Pokemon holds it like heavily ups your attack or special attack or stuff like that, so it is not stuff you can typically get. Sometimes she'll also give you stuff like she can give you super potions early. She gave me 5 Ultra Balls in my practice run, but before I got to the second gym.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So,
It is up to you. You can do either one. I usually do. But it's funny because occasionally you'll just get hit with like back-to-back-to-back calls where it's like, hey, I spent your money. Hey, I spent your money. Hey, I spent your money. It's like, are you okay? Do you have a problem? Like, is this like the first income you've ever had since you got married or something? And now it's like, woohoo, my son's a millionaire. Too many horror stories out there of people that have won the lottery hearing from their friends that they've not heard from in literal decades. I did it, I made it. I got the egg. Have they told you yet that you need to keep it, or are they gonna call you later? I don't remember. Later on, they find out, as is the case with all eggs, that like, hey, it will hatch if you carry it. So they'll tell you later on you can carry it if you want. Kind of like with the why not that you get in Gen 3. Yeah, he'll probably call you later then. I don't think it takes too terribly long. Like, it's one that you can easily go back and get it, or I think they might even bring it to you. Yeah, all the trees in this game, like all the ones that are backgrounds, ones like that, you can use a move called Headbutt on them, which you can get pretty early in the game, and it will have a chance to drop certain Pokemon down. Because initial game had the character limitations. In fact, the final evolution of your Pokemon actually doesn't spell out the word gator completely, it's G-A-T-R, because the limit was 10 characters, and for alligator wouldn't have fit. So that's why it's spelled a weird way. And gone. It is worth noting in this game that the HMs have varied slightly since Gens 1 and 3. Flash that was required is now a TM, not an HM, so you can only have it on one Pokemon before it disappears, but A, you can buy it in the store, so you can have it as many times as you want, and B, it is not required to beat the main game at all. It's only used in 3 caves, and none of those are required to complete, so... If the game tells you, like, hey, you should put Flash on one of your Pokemons, you don't actually need to. Like, at some point, if you're going for everything, yeah, you will need to, but for the time being, you don't have to. I think Headbutt might be the same way. That one I don't remember if you can buy, or if you have to keep going to the same guy that teaches it to you. I like the back-to-back feigning. I killed a Rattata right when you killed a Caterpiece. They got to die together. So if you've ever seen the Pokemon meme of like somebody saying that their Rattata is in the top percentage of Rattatas, the phone calling thing is what that comes from. Is the first kid you fight that you give your number to is like, I think my Rattata might be even in the top percentage of Rattatas. I'm like, yes, you're level 4 Rattata that died in 2 hits. Good thing I didn't take any damage coming back from Professor Oaks / Mr. Pokemon, so that actually be cool there. It's nice to see a critical hit that's not on me. Just completely crush that one in the fight. It only took 2 hits to kill him because of that, because it just dropped him immediately to like mid-yellow. Like, alright, cool, that works. What's one thing in my practice file I found oddly surprising is like as much as you get interrupted at the start of the game a lot, which is normal for Pokemon games, it really doesn't happen that often after the beginning of the game. It's pretty rare that you get stopped by like your rival or Lyra or by your mom or by Oak or Elm or anybody. What? I really don't in this case. Of course they were. Of course they were.
Okay, so this guy.
Shot de Berry.
Yeah, it's been very for a shot.
Oh, it's German boy, yeah?
If you have some
Who is this jackass?
spinning around. Okay, watch him.
It might be because you talked to him, so you might have to like go to into the Pokemon Center and then go back out. And he might be doing it again.
So I gotta show this off. Look at this man. What?
Oh no!
No!
No! Aw.
No!
Well, I mean, I guess the good news is once I get there, I'll get to see it as well. So, but that's still really funny.
So is there like a order in which to do things?
I believe probably the first thing you need to do, I don't know if you need to, but it helps because it gives your Pokemon additional experience, is to go to the tower, which is like top north, or middle north rather, of the town. It doesn't look like a traditional house, so yeah, it should be up there. I think that's technically something you can do before or after the gym, but like Pokemon level-wise, the Pokemon in there are easier level, they're lower level than the gym is, so... Is this a race? No, it's not really technically a race, it's more like playing the game casually, but then setting up for doing like a proper battle. Ah, bald! It's a bald man. Bald!